Alright, what's going on, guys? I'm just going to be showing you guys how to set up Authelia. Hell yeah, I know everyone's excited about that. And then OpenLDAP with that, as well as phpLDAPadmin. Even though phpLDAPadmin is just basically like a GUI for OpenLDAP, but just figured I'd add that in there. We're not going to be doing it by CLI, that would really suck. So yeah, it's going to be super cool, and I'll also show you guys how to configure emails and stuff like that in OpenLDAP, so users can reset their own passwords and whatnot. It's super cool. Some prerequisites though is you're going to have experience with Traefik, which just watch the video that I already made about that. And then I, of course, want you to go through the Quickstart guide. If you did not go through this, the entire thing, I already know someone's going to skip through this and then leave a comment saying, hey, you didn't go over. Yeah, because it's in the Quickstart guide. I'm not going to go over like all this crap 15 times. Please just look at this. Like, they're only like 15-second clips and they're super useful, so just please do that. Okay? And then I'm also going to be linking this in the description of the video. I'm going to leave a lot of stuff in the description of the video. A lot. It's going to look like a freaking Bible down there. But anyway, alright, so the first application we're going to start with is OpenLDAP. So just get that going. EX, because it's an example application, you're just going to leave it as just OpenLDAP. Unless you want to rename yours, then go ahead. Leave that like that. And then come down here to LDAP domain. We're going to be changing this. LDAP.myserver.com. I'm going to be using the domain name myserver.com for this example video. I'm going to be using that throughout this entire video. It's not my real domain, it's just what I'm going to be using. So obviously you go ahead and put your own subdomain right here of LDAP, and then your actual domain right here. Okay. And then scroll down to LDAP admin password. I'm just going to make that password and make that password as well. And then for the LDAP base domain, this is going to be weird if you've never set up an LDAP server / application / whatever before. It's going to be DC equals LDAP, comma, DC equals myserver, comma, DC equals com. And you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just breaking this up. That's basically what this is asking for, is asking us to DC equals LDAP, which is what we have right here. So you imagine that we just split this up. Instead of using periods, we're just using DC equals this part, DC equals this part, and then DC equals, and then the last part of your domain. So just make sure that this up here and down here are matching like mine are. Next. And then I'm going to change my node port, only because I already have an instance of this running. You're obviously not going to have to do that. So you're just going to leave network configuration as is. But I'm going to change this to hopefully something that's not being used. Next. Leave that. Doesn't need any storage. That looks good. I give all my applications just a little bit more horsepower, whether or not they even need it. It doesn't really matter. Do this if you want to. If not, it doesn't really matter. It's up to you. Next, and that's it for that. Okay, for the next application we're going to be launching, it's just going to be PHP OpenLDAPadmin. This is basically just going to be a GUI for OpenLDAP, because OpenLDAP doesn't have a GUI, not an integrated one anyway. You can use CLI for it if you want to, but this is what we're going to be using to configure our OpenLDAP. So let's install this. Copy, paste, and EX. Next, and then we're gonna have to add an additional environment variable here, and that's going to be the name of it. And the reason why we have to do this is because if we do not set this, it's going to bring up what the YAML file generates automatically, which is just an example1.org, example2.org, and example3.org. I'm assuming you guys don't actually own those domains, so this is why we have to set this and point it towards our OpenLDAP domain. So let me open up the linking apps internally real quick. And then we're just going to type in our OpenLDAP EX name. Yours is just going to be OpenLDAP, but for me, since my OpenLDAP configuration or application is called OpenLDAP EX, that's what I'm putting in here. Copy that, and that just goes right down here. Now this is going to be telling phpLDAPadmin to point towards our OpenLDAP application. And then that's all I need for that. I'm going to change his port. Hopefully that's not taken. You do not have to do this, obviously. Doesn't need storage. No ingress. You can set up ingress if you want to. And then, like I always do, I just give these just a little bit more horsepower. You do whatever you want. Boom, and submit. Okay, cool. So now we have both of these launched, and they're both active, as you can see. So let's go to portal, log in right up here, and then for the username, I have this copied and pasted, but I'll explain this to you. So it's CN equals admin. That's our username that we created. Well, we didn't create this. It's automatically generated for us. But we're going to type in the password that we put in OpenLDAP in our configuration. And then DC equals, and then the LDAP, DC equals, and so on. So you should know what to put up here. I'll go ahead and copy and paste this into the YouTube description as well. Make sure you're checking the description. It's going to have a ton of crap. And then we're just typing in the password that we set when we were setting up OpenLDAP. Okay, so we logged in there. Good to go. So you're going to come and click on this. Then create a child entry. And then we're going to create a generic organizational unit. This one's going to be called group. Groups. And now you see that's right there. So cool. So now we'll click back up here to make sure we're in DC LDAP. And then we'll create another child entry because we're going to create another organizational unit. And this one's going to be called users. Create object, commit. And then this is where we are going to be holding our groups, obviously. So I'll show you how to do that. So you click on that, then create a child whatever, and then POSIX group right here. And then we're going to name this admin. So this would be like your group of admins for your OpenLDAP. You would obviously place yourself in there as well as anyone else you want admin rights with. So that's done, and now you can see that there. And we'll go ahead and create one more just to show you. Create a child entry, post 6, and then I'll name this one Plex users. So this would be where the rest of your users go. If you want to name it something like that, you totally can. Okay, so then we'll click on OU users. Now we're going to actually create a user. So generic user account. Okay, and then Dave. Ferris. I guess I'll just type that in. We'll actually capitalize these. Dave Ferris, and then here's his user ID. This is incredibly important because this is going to be what users are using as their username when they sign in to their single sign-on. So this is the user's username. So whatever they want it as. I've had people say that they want an email here. You can do that. I've had people say that they just want it as their first name. That's usually what I do. So I'm just going to put a first name because I don't have 1,000 users. So I don't have to worry about having too many users or overlapping usernames or anything like that. Okay, and then for password, I'm going to choose SHA-256 crypt. That's what I personally use. If you want to use something else, go ahead. Just be wary. Some of these do not work. I've tried SHA-512 crypt, and it just kept telling me that my password was incorrect whenever I typed it in. And then I'd come here and check my password, and it said that it was correct. So I don't know. It's super weird. I guess Authelia doesn't like some hashing algorithms or something. I honestly don't know. So just be careful about that. And then I'm just going to type a password for this user, whatever this user would want. And then we'll place him in admin. And then here, this is actually incredibly important. If you have a capital letter in your user ID, it's going to make a capital letter in your home directory. So the only issue with that is since there's a capital letter here, this is now case sensitive. So when the user goes to log in, he can't just type Dave all lowercase. It has to be capital D, lowercase a, lowercase v, lowercase e. You cannot have it any other way. So it is case sensitive. The way to get around that is to delete the capital D and put a lowercase d, and that completely gets rid of all that. You don't have to worry about it. He can type in his name like this when he's logging in if you wanted to, and it would still allow him to authenticate. So I always change all my stuff to lowercase and make sure everything in here is lowercase. So then users aren't complaining that they can't log in. So yeah, I just usually click shell for that, but I don't think it really matters. Then create object, commit, and then this is the cool part that I was going to tell you guys earlier about emails and stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and click here. So add new attribute, and then the drop down, and then look for email, and then you type in this user's email. So Dave Ferris at gmail.com. Let's just say that that's that person's email. This is where you go to input the email addresses and stuff like that if a user wants to reset their password in the future. This is where you do that. Update object, and then boom, there it is. Okay, finally we're going to be installing Authelia. This is actually my third time doing this for the video, and the reason is because I've been looking over my config and making sure it's as good as it can be for you guys, because again, I'm not a professional at this. I barely even know what I'm doing. I'm just so I'm still coming across new information and stuff like that, but I'm trying to make sure it's as good as possible for you guys. So You're going to see some stuff that's a little like out of whack and whatnot near the end of the video. You're like, where'd your applications go? Well, you'll see at the very end, but things are going to be swapped around, so just watch out for that. So let's get right into installing Authelia. Nothing in the controller, nothing there. Your domain, as it states here, your highest domain level possible, example domain.com. So that's just our root domain. I've just been using myserver.com as an example, so I'm going to put that right there. Default redirection URL. This is for when users authenticate through Authelia, but they don't have an end destination. So where do you want to send them after that? They just authenticated through Authelia. Maybe they went to auth.myserver.com, just went to Authelia directly for whatever reason. Where do you want to send them after that? For me personally, https auth.myserver.com. I just send them straight back to Authelia. So then they can see the little login screen or whatever for Authelia, if that's what they were wanting to look at. I don't really know. If you have a base website that has links to all your stuff, you can go ahead and put that here. But I just send them straight back to Authelia. Okay, scroll down. Again, I'm checking on the other on my other screen, just make sure I'm giving you guys the most relevant information, make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, so LDAP backend configuration, obviously we're going to enable that, and then we're going to delete this, open up our linking apps internally, and then this is where we're going to put the OpenLDAP. I've been using EX, but this is where we're going to be putting our OpenLDAP again. Copy and paste that DNS name. Come back here. After these 2 forward slashes, just paste that right in there just like that. And that's all we have to do for that field. Let me scroll my other side. And then this is just our base domain. You guys have already done this 100 times, so this is just our LDAP myserver.com equals LDAP myserver.com, just like that. Okay, username attribute, this is going to be UID, and it's worth the mention that I'm following a lot of the stuff that comes directly from here. So the users filter I'm grabbing from here, the groups filter I'm grabbing from here. I'm changing this, but I'll show you that later. So I'll link that in the description as well, just in case if you want to follow the official documentation. It's probably better than what I'm doing, but I'm mostly following that anyway. So we got UID in there, and then OU equals users with a capital U. This is important. This is case sensitive. If on your phpLDAPadmin your organizational unit is all lowercase, this is all going to have to be lowercase because it is case sensitive. So watch out for that. Okay, and then the users filter is just the same one that I just showed you guys. OU groups, we're going to leave that just the way that it is because in the example that I made sure the G was capitalized, so I don't have to change anything here. Group name attribute, we're just going to be putting in CN. And then mail attribute, we're just going to be typing in mail. Display name attribute, we're going to be coming back up here and typing UID. So display name attribute. Yeah, so then when users end up authenticating, what field are you wanting to show them? For me, I just picked the username. So then once a user authenticates, It's just going to say, hi, blank, hi, Frank, or whatever the user's name is. For here, we're just going to have to do the same thing that we did for logging into phpLDAPadmin. And let me just change something real quick. So just like that, just basically like your quote-unquote login information for phpLDAPadmin. So just copy and paste that. Oh, I'm an idiot. That goes there. Your password obviously goes into the password field. Okay, and then SMT provider. You do not have to have this. You can either choose this or this, but make sure either one of these two are enabled. But I choose to go with SMTP, and I'm using Google Gmail, so I'll show you guys how those slots go. Just like that, smtp.gmail.com, port 587, and then the username. I'm just going to make up one. myserver@gmail.com. This is obviously where just your Gmail's username goes. Whatever you log in the username with. And then password, this is where your app password that you made earlier goes if you're using Gmail. If you're using a different mail provider, I'm not really sure what you do. I'm pretty sure it's just specific on whatever mail provider you have, but for Gmail I know you have to generate a specific app password. For other providers, you might just be able to put in your username and password just like you're logging into a system. I'm not entirely sure though. You're gonna have to end up looking that one up, but just to put that slot filled, we'll just go ahead and put that there. I'm just going to leave the sender as myserver@gmail.com. I don't have any forwarding set up on this user because it doesn't exist. But I'll go ahead and link a video in the description from ebercorp, and he'll show you how to set up like a custom email domain, basically, so you can have it be support@myserver.com pretty much. So I'll go ahead and link that in the description. That's super cool. So then you can put that here instead of just your username. I think that's it for that. Let me just verify. Yeah, and then I just changed this to 1-factor. You can keep this on 2-factor if you want to, but I change it just to 1-factor. As long as they have the password, they're good to go. Okay, next we can go to networking and services. So for here, service type, I'm going to change this to cluster IP. Changing this to cluster IP just means that we can't log in with the IP like we're doing up here, colon port number. So instead you're just going to be always logging in with your auth.myserver.com. So yeah, it just basically frees this up, but you still have to have this portion filled. Okay, doesn't need any additional storage. We will be enabling ingress for this, obviously. Select my cert, and then auth.myserver.com. Copy and paste that down here, and then that will be that. That's all good to go. Again, like I do with all my applications, I just give them a little bit more horsepower. Do whatever you want. You don't have to do that. None of that, none of that, and submit. One of the very last things that you're going to be doing is opening up Traefik, because we have to tell Traefik to send clients to your Authelia web client before it sends it to another to its destination web client. So we'll go ahead and open up Traefik, open up the configuration, scroll down until you see middlewares, and then configure forward auth. Click add. For the name it something that you're gonna want to be typing into every other application to enable this service. So if you want another application to run off of your single sign-on with Authelia, just make sure there's something easy to remember. I just put in auth. For the address, I'm just going to go ahead and leave this in the description, but basically it's just your HTTP and then your Kubernetes DNS name for Authelia, the container port number for that, and then this string here, and then your actual HTTPS, and then your ingress address for, or your domain address for Authelia. So make sure you got your auth dot and then whatever your domain is, or if you have a different subdomain that you used for your Authelia domain, put that in right here. Okay, and then I go ahead and click trust forward header, sorry, and then I go to, let me see, configure auth response headers. So it's just right here. Click that 4 times. And then you'll just have 4 lines to put in here. Remote user, remote group, remote name, and remote email. And that's all you have to do for that. And I'll go ahead and leave this in the description. Click save. Okay, now we're on to the final part. All you have to do is find an application that you want to enable Authelia protection on. So go ahead, I'll just do LiDAR. Scroll down to ingress, enable that. lidar.myserver.com. Click your cert, and then this is the only thing that we're actually going to be changing. This is the part that matters. Configure Traefik middlewares. Remember that name that I had you type in? Auth. So it's just auth. That's what I typed in, and you could have named it anything that you want. So after typing that in, that's all you have to do. Come down here, click save. Okay, so after activating your middleware, you're just going to click on the portal or type it in to the web browser, it doesn't matter. And then sign in, just like that. Another thing that you want to be aware of is you can still click on reset password, type in your username. This is my actual username, and then this Authelia is going to check with OpenLDAP, make sure that this user actually exists, and if it does, it's going to send an email to this user's email, so then they can reset their password. And it actually does work, and it does change it in OpenLDAP. It's super cool. I absolutely love this application. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to show off was the redirection URL. So I'm signing in without any destination. I just typed in auth and then myserver.com, and now it says hi, and then our display name that we chose, which was our UID. But alright guys, that's it. I'm going to be deleting these. If you guys need help with anything, go ahead and leave a comment in the YouTube video, and I'll go ahead and try to help you out as much as I can. You can also submit a support request on Discord, on the TrueCharts Discord, if you're getting some sort of like really weird error or something like that. You can go ahead and do that. But hopefully I helped you guys out and you're able to set up all your accounts and stuff like that just like you want to. And let me know what other types of videos you want to see. I know how to launch all these applications, obviously, so if you want to see any of them linked up or any sort of like quote-unquote advanced configuration or something like that, let me know. I'll do my best to try to get it working or something, and yeah, we'll get it figured out. But anyway, thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.